Welcome to Wedding Pros Podcast. We're going to be doing part two of our episode on client experience and how to deliver a great client experience wire to wire. That's a pretty cool mug you got there.
Yeah, and for the low cost of $49.99, you may have your own tin Stop Go Love mug.
Yeah.
Actually, I like this one. This one's probably my favorite color that we've done.
Yeah, we do a little, that's part of client experience. We'll talk about that at the end.
Oh, yeah. Jay, before we start, I meant to say this earlier, but I think this is the first podcast where I'm not going to agree with you on every single point because I've been listening to the podcast and I'm always like, yeah, Jay.
Well, we have alignment.
Good point, Jay.
We have alignment.
Yeah, Jay. Yeah. You should call me like, yeah, Jared. I mean, you make fun of me about being Jared anyways.
You're very agreeable.
Yeah, well, I mean.
You're very agreeable.
That's what I do sometimes when I'm just ignoring people too. So it's a fine balance between totally agreeing and then, so it's all in the amount of yeahs that I give.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Just like I said, yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Being agreeable, great client experience. So we're talking about client experience still. Last week we talked about, if you didn't listen to the episode, we talked about really setting expectations from the moment you meet a client online, from your branding all the way and through sales. And we talked about really the idea of like making people happy, right? Like that at the beginning, you're trying to figure out, can I make you happy? Trying to make it very clear to the client, I will make you happy if you want this or this or this. And at that point,
what happens if the client doesn't want to be happy, Jay? If they just want to be miserable?
I mean, I'm definitely not the vendor for them. Because happy clients produce referrals, and I want referrals.
Yeah.
So that's a good investment of my business and time is producing. And so regardless, I want to make a customer happy. And so my branding and my sales is all about letting you, the client, know if you like this, and if you want this, and if you can afford this, this will make you happy. Do you want it? And so at the end of that, hopefully the person says, yes, my expectations are met. This is what I want. I like you. I like your product. Let's do this. Let's book. We're going. And I think a lot of people, there's a lot of advice on sales, consults, booking more weddings, marketing, all these things. I think this is where most wedding creatives actually have a huge gap in their client experience, and that's their pre-wedding experience. Why is this so hard for people, do you think? Besides the fact that they already got their money and they don't care.
There's not a book on it, Jay. So how is anyone supposed to know if they haven't been educated through literature?
Oh, I'm sure someone podcasted about this that I didn't hear.
Yeah.
But it is hard. Why is it so hard?
Well, I think it's definitely not sexy, right? It's
not creative. It's not sales.
Yeah, it's emails, right?
Phone calls.
It's phone calls. It's the stuff that most people, including myself, tend to be like, I have another phone call. It's not doing the things that we signed up to do something creative for, and it doesn't get the attention, good or bad.
Well, it gets a lot of bad attention actually, because this is all I hear.
Sure.
Work-life balance.
Yes.
Nobody's ever talking about the fact that you shot for 14 hours and that's not a balanced day, by the way. It's not balanced. It would, you're literally working 1 day or 3 days a week. You want to talk about balance, your life is getting a lot more time. So unless you're doing, the reason why we talk about it is because we're shooting, we're selling, and we're servicing our clients before and after the wedding day. And so a lot of times it's human nature to be like, the bird in hand, I got it already. I got this person. They're not going to fire me, so I'm not going to.
Yep.
It's like, if you're honest enough to admit that that's how you really feel, that would probably benefit you. But the other thing I think is the type of people, why it's hard for people is like the type of people who get into this industry are probably not very administrative in their giftings.
Naturally.
And no one is teaching them. A lot of them have never had any experience with like a CRM or any kind of thing that will make their lives easier. We want to really recommend, if you're doing like any level of volume or you want a very consistent experience, we really encourage getting a tool that makes it easier to deliver a consistent experience. Like automation is your best friend. We use HoneyBook. There's a lot of great tools out there, Aisle Planner, 17 Hats. You can actually use like MailChimp to do some of this for you if you wanted. But I think the number one thing with pre-wedding experiences is obviously being available, setting expectations clearly when you'll be available with people and how long it'll take you to get back to them, which I would set in sales, by the way. Hey, if you email me, I'll get back to you within 24 hours.
Yep.
But if you set that expectation, don't break it. Mm-hmm. And then, hey, 30 days before the wedding, you're going to get a pre-wedding checklist. We'll automate that. Mm-hmm. Don't set that thing up to be something you have to do. So we use HoneyBook, like I said, and I think the pre-wedding experience is a great opportunity to actually succeed where a lot of your other vendors that are working with the client probably fail.
Yep. Yeah, you mentioned, I think it's probably the heaviest in terms of communications. So what happens, I found, even in my own kind of natural inclination is to leading up to the wedding season, like March, April, May, I'm really good at like, hey, we're 30 days out, we're 60 days out, email. Then the wedding season hits and we're off to post-production and we're still shooting at the same time. So this stage kind of gets a little bit forgotten. So the beginning of the season, you're all prepared leading, and then you get to September and October and you're like, oh shoot, I haven't sent out this form yet. I'm 2 weeks behind on this. The wedding's next week. I haven't even sent them this. It is the stuff that kind of falls behind because you are just doing the actual work and trying to knock it out, that this stage kind of gets forgotten about. So the only way, really, I think the only way you can do it, and I don't care if you're shooting 120 weddings or if you're shooting
30 or
whatever. This is hard. That's hard to do. It's hard to juggle. Like myself, I'm always on a one-track mind. I'm like, I need to email today. I need to shoot today. And multitasking doesn't really, you can ask my wife, multitasking doesn't fly with
scientifically, by the way, multitasking is actually impossible. Did you know that?
Yeah, well.
Scientists have proven that you can only
my
actually.
life makes sense now.
They can only actually focus on one thing at a time, and that people who are good multitaskers are actually good at switching gears.
What does that mean?
You think about something, you can change what you're doing quickly.
Okay, all right.
And that other people have a harder time switching between subjects.
I'm one of them. Yeah.
So being a good multitasker is
but
more,
I try to multitask.
But no one's multitasking.
Yeah, okay.
They're just switching gears faster.
Yes.
They have a looser grasp on their thoughts.
Yes.
Other people grab on harder. So that's interesting, though.
No, definitely.
So in terms of pre-wedding stuff, what are some of the things we do to make sure that is a good experience for the clients?
Yeah, sure. So,
because actually, I think we do a little more,
and we
some
have
people.
to. We have to because there's more. I mean, this isn't like a brag at all, but there's more moving pieces when you start getting teams involved, right? So you have to have, in our case, we have 5 guys who are going to be going out and shooting this summer. Mm-hmm. Myself on the photo side, we're not people that just show up day of and say like, oh, my name is Josh. I'm going to shoot your wedding today. What do you like shot? We want them to have relationships.
Yeah, we want that experience to be, as much as we're team-based, we don't want them to feel like they're working with nameless, faceless mercenaries. Mm-hmm. We want that experience to be, this is your shooter. So we use this pre-wedding to establish the relationship with the person they're going to work with during the day off.
Yep. So that's probably one of the stages. As soon as someone books, I'm getting them on the phone with the person that's going to be actually on site with them. Depending the year, if they're booking a year and a half out.
We're getting that other person, their shooter, in our HoneyBook project so that they can see all the emails and communications.
Get on board. On the back end, not even, this isn't client related, but we're talking about, that we're signing people, we're getting them on board, we're, assembling the team for the day. That's really like real back end. And talking through, answering any kind of questions.
So pretty much goes, our client experience is meet your shooter, have an initial conversation. At some point, they're going to get a creative treatment, I believe that's 60 days out or 90 days.
The creative treatment is, what is it? It's 2
I didn't
months.
even get it right. Yeah, I think it's
2 months
like around
out.
60 days.
2 months out, and then they fill it out, and
Which
we
is,
usually have a
we
consultation.
call it a creative treatment. If you might call it a pre-wedding questionnaire.
Yep.
Who
Yep.
knows what,
Yep.
but that's what we do. We send them out that's automated.
Yep. I just find 2 months, usually at like 3 months, people still don't have a schedule. 2 months, I think a higher percentage has a schedule figured out.
30 days before the wedding, we have a pre-wedding checkup phone call.
Yep. I'd say 2 weeks to 4 weeks.
Yeah. Somewhere within 30 days, we're kind of getting and we're as a team getting alerted and all these things to do this. And so then we're jumping on the phone with them, and to make it simple, we're saying, hey, we're going to go over your questionnaire with you. Let us know if anything has changed. And also we're going to make sure we're kind of just talking through last minute details. Where should I park? So we're making that experience good so that they feel confident that we're going to deliver and we know exactly what they're expecting. So we're just reiterating. So our pre-wedding, we typically have bare minimum 3 points of contact before we even, after sales.
Yep. And we're even, I mean,
probably more.
We're even talking to them about like, hey, do you still want a photo booth? You know, we're sending out other services too. So there's other points of contacts, other points of our branding in general, and just style of interacting with people for sales reasons. I mean,
most couples are sending us after the wedding like 8 to 10 emails that we're dealing with communications.
You're able to find that?
Oh, I'm looking.
Yeah, okay.
I just track it. That's me literally just pulling it out of my butt, I guess.
Okay.
But people are sending you a lot of communications.
Yeah.
Like between like, oh, when can we talk? Oh, like, I'm not sure. Let me look at my schedule. Oh, and like, there's a lot more going on than you realize.
Yep.
Right. And so at that point, you've really established like, we're laid back. We're thorough. We know what you're expecting and what makes you happy. We know the details of your day. We're going to, and so this person is like, they have a picture in their mind of you're going to be cool.
Yeah.
You're going to be nice. You know what they want. Like
Jared writes a lot of typos in his emails.
Yeah.
They know the important things.
Yeah. They know what's really matters.
Yeah.
That you love the Patriots or
Yeah.
you, I mean, I do think that stuff matters, by the way. Definitely put some of your personality in your communications. Don't be so buttoned up that it makes you seem fake. You know, people can see through that. But so pre-wedding client experience is really, really, really important because it really preps them for the most important parts, which are the wedding day experience and the post-wedding day experience.
It's something that in talking to
it
brides,
can ruin everything too, right?
When you do it well, brides will be like, thank you. You guys are like some of the only people that were responding to my emails for a while. Like I would write an email to the venue, write an email to, whoever is involved in the vendor team. And it's so hard to get a hold of people once they have your money. Essentially, that's what they'll say.
Like crap does that make you feel when everyone's really nice to you when they want your money, and the second they get it, they treat you like crap?
Yes.
You don't like it. Do unto others, man.
Stinks.
Treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't do that to people.
Yep. Stinks. And then it just builds anxiety for them leading into the day, and that's a big no-no. As much as we can, no stress leading up to the wedding day. Everything's taken care of. Like they have enough to worry about. They have the weather to worry about in some cases. Like there's enough outside things that can't be controlled to stress out about. That the things that you don't have to stress about, you should try to squash those early on. And just communications is one of those things that
we're trying to
produce
well. Ease. And so you get to even amplify that more. Like, hey, I'm not just nice when I want your money. I'm actually nice, and this is who I really am. And it's going to be a great day. So you're building expectation, right? And you want to be thinking about like everything is building to that day that they get their wedding film or that photo book or whatever you're delivering. That deliverable is like this huge, it's this massive payoff for the client. So the day of comes. I think most people are pretty good at creating a good day of experience. There are a couple reasons for that, I think.
I would agree. Yep. I mean, I would disagree, Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, things are.
Why do
things are
you
terrible.
hate most?
Yeah, I think all vendors stink. Tell me why they don't.
They need tension to have a good podcast.
Yeah.
We're going to create some artificial tension.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments if you want us to fight more or disagree more. If you're into.
Yeah.
So, I think most people are pretty good at this, because they're doing what they love.
Mm-hmm.
If you're shooting and you love shooting and you're good at it.
Well, it's like the 10%, right? It's the 10% of your time is actually doing what we talk about doing the entire year. It's the thing that you're actually advertising, the thing that you're talking about. It's like, so if you're not good at doing that, then you probably aren't in the industry for very long. So,
this
I
is
just
not
assume,
the podcast for you. This is not the Wedding Amateurs podcast.
Yeah.
It's the Wedding Pros.
That's right. That's right.
But I think it's helpful to think about the day in terms of when do I have opportunities to wow someone
Yeah.
and give them a good experience. I think
Little tips and tricks.
it comes down to when you first meet them
Mm-hmm.
and during the getting ready time. That's when you're going to have most of your interactions for the whole day, right? And so
Proximity.
You're getting to blow their mind with how you treat their friends, their family, how clean and organized you are. Do you look like a slob or not? Is your bedside manner weird and creepy, like you're in their face? Or?
I always see it as a sales pitch because the people that you're in the room with, if you're getting ready, are prospect clients. Like,
oh yeah,
the wedding party, they're all younger people, most likely, in most cases, and you have an opportunity to impress them by just asking, oh, what's your name? What's your name? Oh, yeah. Oh, where are you from? How do you know the bride? And just being a nice person, like you're the first person, if you create the smallest connection with people, they remember you. Like I get calls all the time. Oh, yeah, actually, I talked to you at Janice's wedding. I don't think I've ever shot at Janice.
I don't know.
So no one will think that we're talking about them specifically.
Yeah.
We won't get sued or anything. But yeah, it's an opportunity for you to sell people up front and family too. They're sometimes the people that are paying, and if you can get a relationship with them, down
So what
the
are some
line,
things people can do to make sure that experience is good with the client?
I think just honestly saying hi. Like you wouldn't be shocked, but I'm always surprised that people aren't almost aggressively nice with family and just saying, hey, I'm Jared, if there's any, and kind of creating some ground rules too, very subtly, like if there's anything, you want, please, come let me know. I mean, we talked about, what
So you don't
shots we're gonna
recommend
get with the
saying-
bride and groom, but
Don't ask me for stuff. You don't recommend saying that?
no, don't say that. Don't say that. But if you're able to make it seem like, hey, we've talked to the bride, some mother of the brides can be like, I need you to make sure that you will get me and cousin Larry in a photograph later.
Yeah, and then you can let them know, I'll do that at this time of day.
Yes,
And
yes.
not that she's interrupting you in your portrait session.
Exactly.
Because
Yep.
that's part of the client experience is managing someone's family for them.
Yep.
In a nice way. Because that person wants their family to have a great time and they want to get good products. And they know that those two things don't always mix.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people are like, oh, my mom's going to be really annoying. Ugh.
I love that though, because then you can really prepare and target that person and be like, this is when we're going to get those things. And then when you do those things, I remember one wedding specifically, the bride was talking to her mom beforehand and was talking to the planner actually. And she was like, right after the ceremony, it's really important to me that I have shrimp cocktail and champagne. And I was like, oh, that's a very specific request. Maybe I should remember this. Because I was just off the wall, kind of random to me. And the mother was there, and she was like, "Oh, she loves her shrimp cocktail and her champagne." Like they're just talking about it. And then later on in the day, we're shooting at the portrait session. I'm like, "Where's the shrimp cocktail and the champagne?" So I go up to the planner and I'm like, "Hey, we need to make sure she has the stuff." the shrimp cocktail. And she's like, oh, shoot, I forgot. She brought it over. And the mom was so impressed that I remembered that thing that it just won us over.
So
she's going to talk. If the mother of the bride talks well about you, she's going to talk to her friends. She's going to talk
and the
to
bride goes, oh, my mother liked them. It made me feel so like that's a point of stress, and you don't know it all the time.
You're creating a salesperson.
They're not going to come and tell you like, oh, my mom's a real jerk and she's really difficult and she's going to suck. Sometimes they will, but in her head, she's like, is my mom going to ruin my wedding day? And you helped her be at ease, and then you made the bride's wedding day awesome. And so, like, I feel like in that pre-wedding time, that's one place. I feel like the actual wedding ceremony, you're going to have that connection point. You can really give them a good experience. Even I'm putting the mic on. Oh, dude, it's going to be so great. Are you excited? You know, I'm going to set up in a place that's going to make them feel like I'm not interrupting their wedding. I'm going to make sure that the experience is good for their guests to the best of my ability, right? I think the portrait session, family portrait session as well, those portrait sessions is another client experience point. And then maybe there's like, honestly, I've done weddings where after the portrait session, I said bye to the bride and that was my only interaction. Because of just how the day went.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Where like it just gets going and they're dancing and then listening to speeches and like I'm not sitting next to them being like, how's it going? Pretty good day so far, right?
It was good lobster, huh?
You know, like that might be, but like I know I got to win those 3 moments really well, like because I might not have another opportunity to impress them and give them a good experience. But then I think you brought up a really good point, which is there's always little things in the wedding that you can't plan for that you get an opportunity to shine in. I remember we shot a wedding in Dominican on this resort.
No name resort.
Yeah.
Dominican.
Well, and I'd say they were mid because of the way they treated the bride.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's huge. There's all this space, and the day comes. She's in this tight dress, and it's all like, and they're making her walk. It was raining.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get her a cart. She needs a golf cart. And I'm fighting these people. She doesn't know I am, but I'm in the background advocating for this person, getting her a cart. They get her a cart. She's getting driven around and treated like a bride, in my opinion. And I'm advocating for that because I want her to have a good experience. And I don't even know if she we did that for her.
Yep.
But I know that my focus was on giving her a good experience and not just making her know that it was good, but just genuinely as a human being, I want her to have a good experience.
And the worst thing that can come out of that, or not the worst thing, but is she has better experience. She's going to look better in photos.
Exactly.
Like, she's having a better time. I think just whatever you can do to make sure that people are having a good time.
Good time and be happy.
It's going to affect your product. And that's like, point, F on the list of things that is beneficial to just being easy to work with, being an advocate for your brides and grooms, like working hard for them and their overall experience.
Make people happy. That's business.
Yep.
Make people happy.
Another point that I want to follow up on, we talked a little bit about it last week on the podcast in the first section of client expectations is client experiences, setting up their expectations. Like, so in that consult, 2 weeks to a month beforehand, usually I'll bring up some things that I really don't want to talk to the bride about on the day of. I think talking about money on the day of a wedding is like a big no-no.
Never talk about money. If you need to change schedules, talk to the planner, like anything that adds stress.
Yep. Usually I'll talk to them about what time I'm going to leave a couple weeks beforehand. Like, okay, so it looks like dance floor opens up at 8:30. I'd say we're probably going to leave somewhere around 9:30.
Yeah,
when we feel like we have
day
enough. Because then when you show up, they're not like, oh, you're leaving now? We haven't cut the cake, or we haven't done this other thing that doesn't really matter to me. And if I'm giving her the opportunity at that point to say, oh, can you stay to cut the cake? Of course. Oh, yeah, totally. We can do that. You're just setting expectations. Hey, we talked about this. I'm leaving. I have to, we're 3 hours away, so we have to drive. Like, certain things like that.
Anything that you can imagine would give a person stress should not be brought onto the wedding day.
I have a good story, Jason.
Yes.
We were shooting a wedding in a castle. Well, it was kind of like a
faux castle.
A faux castle,
A New England style castle.
Yeah, and we were shooting the getting ready, and everything was seemingly great. And all of a sudden, the planner of this castle comes in and was like, "Oh, we haven't received the second payment for the venue because, like, I just need, before we get started with the ceremony's like an hour away, maybe. Before we get started, I'm just going to need you guys to write up a check for the wedding that's happening in an hour." Meanwhile, the bride is like, "Mom, do you have a checkbook?" And then she's like, "Harry, do you have the checkbook?" Like, they're all like freaking out, like, "Oh my goodness, we paid all this money. Everyone's here. We're about to have this ceremony. We're essentially about to walk down the aisle."
That's on the venue.
Completely.
That's ridiculous.
Especially the venue. The venue usually, I feel like, wants the money like 75 days beforehand.
It's ridiculous, though.
I thought I just was like,
So
I'll use this as an example on the Wedding Pros podcast 3 years from now.
Yeah, that's ridiculously unprofessional.
Yeah.
So don't bring stuff to the table. I think it's easy to produce a pretty good experience as long as you don't bring stress to the table. Don't fight with other vendors.
Yeah.
Don't look like a slob. Don't stand there on your cell phone. Like, the only thing I'll say that's extra is, in terms of how you look, I don't really care how you dress. A lot of people are obsessed on wearing dress shoes. It's like, you're standing for 12 hours. Let's be realistic. But whether in every way that someone sees you, from your posture to how you're are you texting the whole time?
Yep.
Am I standing there just helping myself to the hors d'oeuvres in a goofy way?
Yep.
Just be considerate how you come across.
Yep.
Here's what I know at the end of a wedding day. The father of the bride often comes up to me and says, "You guys worked really hard today, and I'm happy."
Yep.
Because they saw I was grinding and killing myself, and I worked wicked hard to make their daughter happy.
Especially when he slips you a little something on
Little
the side,
tip.
a little something.
Yep.
I mean, I tell our guys all the time, like, you show up and you act like you know what you're doing, like, you'll be rewarded for it. Like, you know, I don't know, maybe that's just up here in New England, but, you know, and we don't obviously do it for those reasons. But this is what I would say with that, like, you know, the dress is kind of a little bit more of a gray area. Like, I think people don't care as much as maybe they used to.
I think some people make an overemphasis on the value of it too.
But what I would say is, every bride has an expectation that you are not going to be on your cell phone on Instagram talking to chicks or whatever you're doing on a phone. You know,
even
so
like when you're doing something
things,
for your business, just be cognizant of your environment.
Yes.
Like, if you're like, "Oh, I'm going to take a picture for my Instagram," that's cool. I'm not saying you can't do that. If you want to eat an hors d'oeuvre, I'm not saying you can't do that. My rule is, if you hand it to me and I say, "I'm a vendor, is that okay?" And they say, "Yeah, just have some." Okay. Like, I'm not saying that you have to be overly uptight, but you can't be clueless that people are looking at you and watching you and evaluating what you're doing. Like, just be cognizant and put out the image you want to put out.
Yep.
And that's part of the client experience. You got to know that, right? And we have, even on our thing, how fancy is this wedding?
Yeah, on the
we ask
treatment.
people too.
Yep.
If I see it's a 5, it's a tuxedo thing, I'm going to say, "Do you want me to wear a tie?"
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to ask the bride and groom, like, "Do you care?" If they say, "No, it's all good," but I'm getting that feedback from them of "Hey, how do you want me to be on your wedding day?" And maybe you don't do that, and maybe you're not willing to do that. That's cool, but it is part of their client experience.
I wear a Patriots jersey to everyone's wedding.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I only wear Bruins. Go Bruins.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you can suck it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, wedding day experience, I think a lot of people do a great job with.
Yep. Me too.
I think it's easy for a lot of people because they're in their comfort zone to deliver a good experience.
People, I mean, not every wedding, but I think most people are happy on their wedding day. They're getting married. Like, there's good vibes around just the experience of, we're here at a wedding day. I mean, they can be stressful too.
Overall, it's a good
at some
experience.
point during the day, most brides get to a point where they're like, this is refreshing. This is relaxing. I just got married. I'm with the person I love. All these people are around me, and there's good vibes around it. It's hard to screw that part up.
Yeah, it does matter. You can screw it up if you get in a fight with another vendor or you do something that you're rude to one of your guests. But if that's so easy not to do.
I disagree, Jay. It's very hard not to
Sometimes you're just
punch a photographer in the noggin.
I've had a few, like I can think of like in all the weddings I've done in 8 years, like 2 arguments I've had.
2 fight. Oh man.
Yeah, with other vendors.
2 knife fights. I've only been in
One of them was somewhat public, although nobody was really in the room, but some other vendors saw it. And one of them was totally not public. So.
What names did you call him to his face?
I didn't think I called any names. I just explained to them how I was willing to let them treat me.
How you were willing to fight him in the parking lot.
Yeah. One was a lady.
Oh,
so.
Yeah. You would have definitely beat her, I think.
I think I could have beat her in a fight, sure.
Okay. Yeah, well,
I would have been stronger. Now, given, I would have ruined my life. And
so your wife would.
It wouldn't be such a great move.
What kind of man you are.
Yeah. But anyway, I think wedding day, a lot of people are pretty good at creating a good client experience. I think the next thing is the number one area where people take all that goodwill they built up and flush it down the toilet, which is the post-wedding client experience. If there's anything, like when you see the like news things, oh, I got this guy shot my wedding, and then he never gave me the product, or like when we hear clients complaining, like, oh, he would never get a hold of me. When we were on the Big Wedding podcast episode, which we encourage you to go listen to, the Big Wedding Planning podcast. Yep. Even if you're an industry professional, they do cool interviews with a lot of people throughout the industry.
Yeah, they're great.
And we were on their podcast and talking about like how the number one issue planners have is they have to chase wedding creative vendors down. They'll get a phone call like 30 days later, and they're like, I can't get a hold of my photographer. I can't get a hold of my videographer. Mm-hmm. Can you call them for me? And it's like you're killing yourself with that planner. If that planner gets that phone call, they're gonna be pissed at you.
They are definitely not gonna refer you again. And in most cases, the planner is already like, dude, my contract with these people are up. Now I have to chase down these.
Yeah, they're gonna try to be nice, and they're doing it for free, and it's just annoying, and you look like an idiot.
Yep.
So I think we have to go back to sales here. If you did a good job and your client experience was good and you set expectations well in sales, how much easier does this post-wedding experience get for you and all of us in the wedding industry?
Yeah. I mean, way easier.
Yeah.
Way easier. I think if you are giving yourself a little bit of a buffer as far as delivery time, I think is a big deal. Like if you're averaging, your real average is, 4 months, and you're saying, all right, well, we're gonna deliver in 6 months. Give yourself a little bit of buffer that, if should anything happen to yourself, you're still providing a little bit extra space. And just, you're setting expectations for people up front. Like, okay, I would expect it at this time, that, and then if they have a problem with it, they can bring it up to you at that time. But then once you're actually delivering, they know what to expect.
Well, keep in mind, they're still your client until you give them what they bought.
Yep.
They didn't buy you to shoot photos. They bought you to deliver photos. They didn't buy you to shoot video. They bought you to deliver a video. Yes. So if that person's getting a hold of you after the wedding, you need to get back to them.
Yeah.
And in a timely fashion.
I would say remind people, too, of what you had talked about. Remind them of what the expectations are. Because a lot of cases, especially on the photo side, they're booking you a year and a half, even sometimes 2 years out. You haven't had this conversation with them in years.
Can I give you one client post-wedding day experience that I think has to do with that?
No.
That I think is,
yes.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
No, that I think this is a huge mistake. And I see this all the time in Facebook groups. Person is frustrated about something, the client's wrong, and the creative knows it. And so the way they respond to them is they go, well, in my contract it says... And I'm like, do you know how much of a jerk you come across when you say to someone, in my contract? Just tell them what you're willing to do. Don't finger wag people.
Yes.
When they don't understand, when they have a misunderstanding or bad expectations or they make a mistake. Don't go to people like, well, if you read the contract. That's basically what you're saying. And like, I remember I had an issue with my propane. I ran out of propane. And I called the guy. I'm like, I need propane for my house. In New England, a lot of houses are propane now, if you don't know that, for heat. And so,
Just in case you were thinking about moving to
yeah.
Massachusetts.
Well, some people might, it's not for my grill,
wondering
it's for
about-
my whole entire, yeah.
Okay.
So
Rhode Island is natural gas, just expanding the conversation a little bit.
So the guy, when I called, I remember the lady on the phone was like, well, you did this before. So it says here in this fine print somewhere that blah, blah. And I was like, ugh, what an idiot.
Was that the lady that you fought in the parking lot?
No, I didn't fight her. But I remember when I ended up, they didn't actually do what they said, by the way. They didn't deliver it when they said they were gonna. They took 2 more days. So I called the guy and I talked to the head of the company and he's like, well, you ran totally out. Let us know when you have 30% from now. And I was like, don't lecture me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear a lecture. I already got the lecture. I just need the propane.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like that's how people feel. They don't want to hear when they want their photos that, well, it's really your fault if you read it. But don't lecture people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make people feel stupid for having questions. Make them just feel served. Every single time you interact with them, you need to make a person feel served.
Because if you were like, this is happening, and he was like, I'm so sorry, like, this is what we have the capacity to do. Because he could, most people just don't want to help you. I mean, that's what I think.
That's
at the end
what
of the
I
day,
think. I think
they actually are just like, I'll show you. I have power. And instead of just being like, well, this is what I can do for you. I'll get someone out there this afternoon. Are you going to be home? Oh, you're not going to be home then? Okay. When are you going to be home? When can I get
nobody likes that experience though. And so when you're
Well, that's the way you solve that problem.
couples
and then
are
you would probably
calling
be
you-
stoked. You'd be like, oh, that guy.
Well, it's like I knew that I made that mistake.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't need him to tell me that. I just don't want to be humiliated for making that mistake. It's already embarrassing. Oh, crap. My wife is telling me, why did you do that? And I'm like, I just forgot. Everybody knows
That's
that
the
stuff.
worst,
Nobody, like your clients, that's a bad experience for me. It made me feel dumb. And when I think about that company, I think about how dumb I feel. And if anybody looks at your company and they're like, they added stress, they made me feel dumb, they were rude to me. It doesn't matter what's real. It's client experience, not client reality. And so that experience in the post-wedding is oftentimes where things become bad because either you don't do what you say, which let's just assume everyone does what they say. If you don't do what you say, shame on you. You deserve to be out of the industry. I hope that you get wiped out from the earth, napalmed, and nobody has to deal with you anymore.
Figuratively.
Not in reality. Hopefully you just go work at McDonald's where you deserve.
I know,
I
because every
recommend
time I go to McDonald's, I'm like, I want this with French fries. They don't give me French fries with it. That's the place where all those people go.
Yeah.
They promise you something that you don't get.
Yeah. But like those people that like, they don't hurt us. We book plenty of weddings, but I do know like they kind of give our industry a bad name and there's no place for them. So,
well, they make it easy for us to exceed expectations. So that's
for sure. But most people aren't doing that on purpose.
Yeah.
Most people they make mistakes. And so we're not talking to mistake people. We're talking to liars. If you're a liar, screw you. If you're not a liar and you just make mistakes, you got to really remember this post-wedding thing. You got to have processes for it. You got to have a certain attitude for it. You got to realize that they're still your customer. You got to, and I would say like, keep that positive mental attitude about them. Don't get into a bunch of self-talk where you're just trashing this person.
Yeah, I think so.
You'll treat them differently, right? If you have bad feelings towards them.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I think in communications after the wedding, and honestly, probably throughout the whole process, you always want to be the first person emailing somebody. So
if possible, for sure.
You want to be the person who is, hey, it was thank you for inviting us to your wedding. We had a great time, with you guys over the weekend. Here's the next steps of what to expect.
Or Instagramming or whatever you do for communication.
Yep. Hey,
although I recommend email because it's a better paper trail.
Yeah. You know that if someone is emailing you, hey, I just wanted to know when we should expect this. You've already kind of lost a little bit of a battle. Some people are unreasonable, but you want to get ahead of that. If you're emailing people after the wedding and saying, hey, this is when you can expect this, and this to actually happen. That at least gives them the opportunity to say, oh, I thought it was different. And you to be like, oh, shoot, I need to speed it up on this one person because their expectations are. You can at least be in charge of the situation. That's an actual good way to be in charge of the situation, as opposed to being, contract like heavy and telling them about what they did wrong, like you were mentioning. That's an actual good way to be in control of the situation. Not always something that you can do every single time, but because things will pop up. But if you can get ahead of most situations by
You usually
being the first
can.
to email, I think so too. Yeah,
You usually can, and people appreciate it so much.
they do.
They
Yep.
really do. And like you can turn a loss into a win when a person's post wedding. And let's talk about some nightmare scenarios, right? Post wedding, where do you think? Let's assume we all do what we say. We tried to set expectations. We did our best, and stuff still happens. How do we create a great experience? Because what's at the end of great experiences are customer I can't say this word, advocacy.
Advocacy. Yeah.
Yes, customer
did it.
advocacy. Great customer advocacy comes from great experiences, not from great products.
So what would a negative experience be like?
Okay, somebody gets their, well, in their mind, you could be a negative experience. I don't know if it actually is negative, but they get their wedding. They have a shot of a person that they don't like in their video, right? And that person emails you and says, hey, maybe they have 2 or 3 shots they don't like. They're kind of finicky. They have a few things.
The mom is like, I don't want any shots of me dancing on the dance floor. That's what I saw the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that's an opportunity.
completely. Yep.
A lot of people go like, should I charge them extra? Okay, that's an opportunity too to piss them off. And maybe they're asking too much. And you have to weigh that like in that moment.
And this is what I would say with that. Like, if you are clear in your communications ahead of time and they're on board, hey, we just do a $250 revision fee afterwards if you want to switch out people. And if they've signed up for that, they're much more likely to be like, okay, that's what they said. They understand what they're gotten into. They understand that when they ask a certain question, that's
Be a
your
little
process.
extra possibly. And not only
Completely.
that,
And
if you
I
know
would
it's
say
actually
that's totally fine.
if you know it's not a big issue, you might even say like, oh, I know it's only going to take me 30 minutes to fix that.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to waive that fee for you.
Completely.
You just made that person go, they gave me $250 of value for free.
Yes.
That's how you get advocates, is adding value.
Yep.
And so like we look for, that's all I care about. I don't care about $250. I care about another wedding.
Yeah.
Now, if I need to charge the $250, I have no issue doing it.
Yep.
But like that situation happens from time to time. And I know a lot of people, that's where they lose the client.
Yep.
Is because they're paying about it. It's obviously they're annoyed. They'll say something like, well, in our contract, it states that we choose the shots.
Yeah. So this is what I would also say about it. I think about these things like when I go home at night, these are the things that annoy me, and they sit with me as I'm laying in bed, and it's like burning in my mind. So I think if we were talking about it a little bit earlier today, like, not really letting it affect you, like not, I don't know, not dwelling on the negativity.
Don't personalize it.
I think if you're just willing to be like, all right, we'll fix that, and then you go in, you fix it, you deliver it, you know what? I never think about that problem ever again. It's done. It's out of the way.
It's out of your life.
It's not, I emailed this person something that's a little bit, maybe confrontational.
Passive aggressive.
We'll see what the email will be for me tomorrow. I'm not thinking about it. It's done. I already did it. I already solved the problem. I have other things to think about. I'm going to go hang out with my dog.
Yeah. It's really, that's it. It's just like, be a good person.
Yeah.
And if you're a good person, people are usually cool.
Yeah.
And like, look for opportunities to amaze people, to blow their mind, to make them happy post wedding. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Don't be a jerk.
Yeah. And if you set yourself up to not be able to deliver on anything, make it right. Say you're sorry, I think is a big deal. And you'd be surprised if you're willing to say you're sorry, if you're willing, and these are things that I think we try to tell our guys too. Swear to your own hurt. If you say you're going to do something and it becomes more convenient to not do the thing, you still do the dang thing. You
Yeah.
still do the thing that you say you're going to do, even if it costs you money, even if it's going to cost you time. Because at the end of the day, your word is your bond, and these things should be important to you as a business owner. And oh my goodness, it's so much less stress when you operate that way, right?
Oh my goodness. Like I always say, good character is good business. And if you're a good person, you create advocates. And if you create advocates, you create sustainable income.
Yep.
And the last thing we'll end with is just, I really encourage you to audit your client experience. And the way to do that is to look at every
I'll
single.
do that, Jay. I'll do that.
Yeah.
I actually do think we need to do that.
For sure. We try to do it almost every year on some level. But if you have never really, I remember talking to someone about, I'm not getting the leads that I want. And I said, are you good to work with? And they was like, they were never occurred to them. I thought
you were going to say, no, I'm not good to work.
well, and then they were like, well, how do I know? And it's like, okay, how quickly do you get back to people? Do you have a lot of confrontation with clients? Do you get a lot of vendor referrals? Like, if you're looking for a data set to collect, how many vendor referrals do you get? How many client referrals do you get? If you're not close to 50-50 referrals versus marketing leads, you might suck to work with. Like, or your product's not as good as you think. But if you know your product's good because you're getting a lot of leads, but you're not getting a lot of referrals, you might need to work on your client experience. And so the one quick way to look at it is, how long does it take me to get back to people? Do I have any automated processes to make sure it's very consistent? Do I consistently break my contract with my deliverables? And the obvious stuff is like, do I have fights with other vendors? Stupid stuff like that. Hopefully you're not doing that. But most people aren't. Most people are just suck at communication.
I would say a place to start, at least, it's a little bit harder to project how you are going to, like, certain interactions and nuanced kind of communication styles. The easy way to start is just writing down all the points of contact, right? That's the easy part.
Oh, yeah.
To start.
Every interaction, every time you interact with a customer, kind of just mapping it out.
Create a system. Every single point of contact actually has a purpose. Okay, this is informative. This is a questionnaire to get information. This is to give information. This is to give information. Give. You know, maybe a take, maybe a sale. But, you know, you're building a structure, a tree, and following that, and then the rest kind of figures itself out.
Yeah, and you're just making sure,
Yeah.
seeing how it goes, but just like tracking that stuff and thinking about it, not like, this is my email, this is my marketing, this is my branding, this is my shooting, this is my upsells, this is my client experience. It's all one thing.
Yep. And with that, we are being arrested.
Yes.
Heavy
Someday we won't be in the mean streets of Milford doing
Mean
this
Streets
podcast.
of Milford. That's a good T-shirt idea, actually.
Yeah. So client experience is a big deal. So we would love to know what works for you. If you are listening to this podcast and you're like, have something contribute to the discussion, or maybe a different way of doing stuff, we need each other and as a community to provide great client experiences. I think that's one of the best things about community is you can bounce stuff off each other and figure out how do we all provide a better experience for our clients. And like everybody wants to do that. So we encourage you, check us out on YouTube, Wedding Pros, or follow us and give us a follow, click that little bell. Go ahead. We're also up on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. But we want to connect with you. We want to hear your thoughts. If you've listened to an hour-long podcast, by the way, and you haven't subscribed, what's wrong with you, right?
What's wrong with you?
What's up? Yeah. So go ahead and click on it.
Do you hate us?
We want to connect. Well, they listen to an hour-long thing. I'm assuming they somewhat enjoy
maybe
it.
they want to know their enemy so they can destroy
Yeah,
you.
maybe they're one of our competitors in podcasting.
Yeah. There's a lot.
What if we made
out
fake
there.
podcasts where we gave a bunch of false information to trick our competitors?
Yeah, I like it, though. I like it. That's
No,
deep.
No, we don't have competitors. We're peerless. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, check us out. Give us that follow. Thank you so much for checking out the Wedding Pros podcast.